have your act together. Let me go through my little checklist here. You haven't been to jail?
No.
No jail?
No, not yet.
Rehab?
No.
No rehab. Amanda Bynes, what kind of a starlet are you?
I know, what's wrong with me?
This interview was in 2007, and Amanda Bynes seemed like a well-adjusted actress compared to her peers at the time. Or so we thought, because in 2006, she was already experimenting with substances that would eventually change her life forever. Somehow, Amanda Bynes went from one of Hollywood's most lovable young stars to somebody who slowly lost control in front of the entire world. She would fight with other celebrities on Twitter, get into physical altercations with paparazzi, accumulate DUIs and hit-and-run charges like she was in a Grand Theft Auto simulator, not to mention multiple psychiatric holes. And that's not even close to the craziest part of her story, because the same girl, the girl who made an entire generation laugh on Nickelodeon, would later be found wandering naked through Los Angeles during a psychotic episode. And this downfall didn't happen overnight, because years before the arrest, years before the bizarre tweets, before the paranoia, before Amanda claimed her own father put a chip in her brain, there were already little cracks beginning to show. We just didn't notice it. So the real question is, what actually happened to Amanda Bynes? And how did one of the most talented stars of the early 2000s end up here? Let's talk about it. So before her big break on Nickelodeon, Amanda Bynes was already performing stand-up comedy at the Laugh Factory as a child. And even at a young age, she had this natural ability to command attention. She was loud, expressive, fearless, and funny in a way that didn't feel forced. She stood out immediately, which eventually caught the attention of Brian Robbins and Dan Schneider, who were working as talent scouts and producers for Nickelodeon at the time. Not long after discovering Amanda, Nickelodeon cast her on All That, where she quickly became one of the funniest and most recognizable kids on the entire network. Amanda already had elite comedic timing. She could switch characters instantly, make ridiculous facial expressions that were hilarious instead of awkward, and completely steal scenes without even trying.
Our first letter comes from Tracy Sullivan of Yakima, Washington. Tracy writes, "Dear Ashley, that's me. Dear Ashley, my mom always makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the peanut butter on the top and the jelly on the bottom. But I prefer the jelly on the top and the peanut butter on the bottom. What should I do?" Well, Tracy, here's a little advice. Turn the stinking sandwich over. Peanut butter's on the top and the jelly's on the... Just turn the stinking sandwich over. Man!
It didn't take long for Nickelodeon to realize Amanda was bigger than the show itself. And at just 13 years old, she was given her own series, The Amanda Show, making her one of the youngest stars on TV with her own comedy program. And instead of crumbling under the pressure, Amanda killed it. The show became a massive success, and for an entire generation of kids growing up in the early 2000s, Amanda Bynes wasn't just another Nickelodeon star. She was Nickelodeon.
Get back in line.
Sir, apparently you don't realize who I am, please. My name is Penelope Tate. I just happen to be Amanda's #1 fan, please.
Amanda would eventually make the transition into Hollywood movies easily. She was in films like Big Fat Liar, What a Girl Wants, She's the Man, Hairspray, and eventually Easy A. And what made Amanda different from so many other teen stars at the time was that people genuinely liked her. She didn't come across as manufactured or fake. She felt unpredictable, goofy, and naturally charismatic. But behind all the success, the pressure of growing up inside Hollywood was already starting to leave cracks beneath the surface. When I look back at Amanda's life, I can't help but wonder if growing up inside that environment at such a young age may have affected her far more than anyone realized. But while Amanda's career was exploding in a good way, things were already beginning to spiral in a completely different direction. Despite her image of being Nickelodeon's good girl, Amanda would later admit that she started smoking the devil's lettuce at just 16 years old. And according to Amanda herself, things escalated even further during the filming of Hairspray. After reading an article describing Adderall as the new skinny pill, Amanda became obsessed with getting her hands on it. It wasn't even about getting high, it was more about how she viewed her body. Amanda later said that she became deeply insecure about her appearance, and like a lot of young women in Hollywood at the time, she felt enormous pressure to stay thin. But eventually, the drug use became something much darker. Around this same period, there were already signs that Amanda's personal life wasn't nearly as stable as her public image suggested. Back in 2003, while still a teenager and at the height of her Nickelodeon fame, Amanda reportedly attempted to seek legal emancipation from her parents without them knowing. She had secretly been working through agents and managers behind the scenes until her parents eventually found out and fired her whole team. Now obviously, teenagers fighting with their parents is as normal as water being wet, but looking back, moments like this feel like early cracks that were beginning to show. And unfortunately, the environment Amanda grew up in may have only made those problems worse, because years later, Dan Schneider would become one of the most controversial figures in Nickelodeon history. The controversy surrounding Schneider exploded after the release of the Quiet on the Set documentary, where former writers, actors, and staff members describe what they claim was a toxic workplace environment behind many of Nickelodeon's biggest shows. Some accuse Schneider of being verbally degrading, emotionally manipulative, and creating an environment where young actors constantly felt uncomfortable or pressured. And the overly inappropriate jokes and scenes involving child actors were heavily criticized. Following the backlash, Schneider released a public apology video where he admitted he could be difficult or impatient and obnoxious to work with while denying any criminal behavior. There is no confirmed evidence linking Dan Schneider's behavior to Amanda Bynes' mental health struggle. But it's difficult for me not to give him the side eye, because anybody who had to grow up in such a toxic work environment would definitely be negatively affected in some way. And when I look back at Amanda's story now, it's hard for me not to question how it may have affected her psychologically, especially because by the late 2000s, Amanda's substance abuse was beginning to seriously affect her career. And I say that because while filming Hall Pass, Amanda later admitted that she would chew Adderall tablets because she believed it intensified the high. She also admitted that she was struggling to remember lines while filming because she was constantly under the influence. And Amanda eventually dropped out of the movie because of her drug use. At the same time, Amanda became increasingly fixated on her appearance. And this insecurity would eventually become one of the biggest turning points in her entire life. Later on, after watching herself during a screening of Easy A, Amanda later said she became disgusted with both her appearance and performance in the movie. She said seeing herself on screen destroyed what little confidence she still had left. So in June of 2010, while still only 24 years old, Amanda put out a Twitter post stating that she's retiring from acting. And at the time, it felt random. But now, after everything she's been through, I can't help but to think that the tweet was the beginning of a complete psychological collapse.
Amanda Bynes arrested for alleged DUI. The California Highway Patrol confirms to ABC News that the 28-year-old actress failed a sobriety test after getting pulled over early Sunday morning.
After retiring from acting, Amanda's life seemed to completely lose structure. She started surrounding herself with a much more rebellious crowd. She was partying constantly, smoking heavily, and pretty much getting high all day. And very quickly, the behavior started spilling into public view. In March 2012, Amanda was pulled over in Los Angeles for talking on her phone while driving, but instead of simply accepting the ticket, she suddenly drove off in the middle of the traffic stop before later showing up at the police station herself. And guess what? That was only the beginning. Over the next several months, Amanda would rack up DUI charges, multiple hit-and-run accusations, and eventually charges for driving on a suspended license. She later tweeted to President Obama that she doesn't drink and that he should fire the cop that arrested her, while also stating that she doesn't do hit and runs either. At the same time, Amanda's online behavior was becoming even more disturbing. This was the beginning of what I call the Twitter spirals. Amanda suddenly started posting bizarre tweets non-stop for all hours of the day, publicly feuding with celebrities like Rihanna, Miley Cyrus, and Chrissy Teigen. She also tweeted at Drake saying she wanted him to unalive her genitalia, and that made the entire internet uncomfortable. She also posted a TikTok video caption, "I'm sucking on a Sour Patch Kid listening to music getting ready for tonight." The video later became a meme online, but many people found it deeply concerning. What made the situation even stranger was that Amanda seemed convinced she was completely fine. At one point, Amanda insisted that she was doing amazing, but just 2 days later, her agent, publicist, and lawyer all dropped her at the same time. Apparently, Amanda had become extremely difficult to work with, nearly impossible to manage, and had stopped communicating with people who were desperately trying to help her. The people closest to her were beginning to realize something was seriously wrong, and the public behavior only became more erratic from there. Amanda started getting into physical altercations with paparazzi, including one incident where she allegedly attacked a cameraman after repeatedly being photographed when she clearly didn't want pictures taken.
Amanda, stop pinching me. That's not necessary.
Pinch me.
I did not even touch you. All right, I'm done. Ow! Ow! Yo, what the hell?
Then came the bizarre wigs, the strange outfits, the paranoia, and the random public incidents that made headlines almost weekly. Videos surfaced online of Amanda dancing erratically on treadmills, wandering barefoot through New York City, and behaving in ways that left people deeply concerned. And while all of this chaos was happening, Amanda was also burning through money at an insane rate. I mean, she literally took a cab from New York to Los Angeles because she had no license or ID to take a plane. Reports claim she was spending nearly $100,000 every single month while spiraling mentally and emotionally. But somehow, things still didn't hit rock bottom yet. Because in May 2013, Amanda found herself in one of the most infamous incidents of her entire life. Police were called to a New York apartment after building staff allegedly saw her smoking inside the building lobby. When officers arrived at her apartment door, they claimed they could immediately smell smoke coming from inside. Amanda opened the door wearing one of her now infamous wigs, and according to police, officers spotted what appeared to be a bong sitting inside the apartment. And that's when things got even crazier, because police claimed Amanda suddenly grabbed the bong and threw it out her apartment window onto the street below while pedestrians were walking outside. Amanda, of course, denied it was a bong and famously insisted it was just a vase. The entire incident became national tabloid entertainment instantly. Amanda was charged with reckless endangerment, attempted evidence tampering, and possession of the devil's lettuce. And by this point, her public image had completely transformed. As the months went on, her behavior became even more paranoid and disconnected from reality. Then came the moment that completely changed everything. In July 2013, Amanda was seen standing in the driveway of a stranger's home after accidentally setting part of the driveway on fire using gasoline. Witnesses described Amanda as frantic and disoriented while trying to put out the flames after her own pants briefly caught fire.
Ant leg on fire and a gas can trailing fire through the driveway. I quickly pull over to go help her, and when I got over here, she put the fire out on her leg and was rushing over to her dog. And then I kicked the gas can over and moved it to the middle of the driveway so nothing else would catch on fire. And I said, "Are you okay?" Like, she was kind of frantic and discombobulated, and then she was laying down right here trying to roll or do something to take off that fire from her pants.
So her pants are on fire?
Her pants are on fire.
And after accidentally getting gasoline on her dog, Amanda brought the dog into the back area of a gas station convenience store in an attempt to wash the gasoline off, where employees eventually forced her to leave. The incident finally led to Amanda being placed on a 5150 psychiatric hold, and her parents then pursued a temporary conservatorship over her. But she didn't stop there. Amanda was later spotted at JFK Airport allegedly smoking cigarettes while talking to inanimate objects, including a tree, while wearing a strange bandage across her face. Mind you, she was still posting increasingly bizarre tweets about conspiracies and eventually claimed that her own father physically abused her before retracting the accusations and claiming the microchip my father put in my brain made me say those things. At this point, this was no longer just celebrity gossip or bizarre tabloid behavior. People were now witnessing a full mental breakdown happening in real time. Amanda eventually went back home and was placed under another psychiatric hold, and this time her conservatorship became a permanent one. I can just imagine how terrified her family was, especially when audio recordings later surfaced where Amanda allegedly made disturbing comments involving violence toward her parents while clearly sounding mentally unstable. Some members of her own family wanted the recordings released publicly because they believed it might finally force authorities and medical professionals to intervene before something even worse happened. Amanda would eventually enter rehab and slowly try rebuilding her life away from Hollywood. Amanda had a passion for fashion, and when she first tried to get her life together, she enrolled into fashion school but eventually dropped out due to being high and behaving erratically in class. So this time when she enrolled again, she really focused on sobriety, and for a while things genuinely seemed to improve. Amanda stayed sober for 3 years while trying to put her life back together, and her conservatorship ended once more. And for a moment, things were looking up. Around this same period, Amanda became engaged to a man named Paul Michael after the two met while in rehab. Their relationship almost felt symbolic of Amanda's entire life at this point, two people trying to stay sober while dealing with their own personal struggles. But the relationship itself was rocky from the beginning, and they eventually broke up, but not before Amanda took to her live streams and publicly accused Paul of personal misconduct, allegations that he later denied himself. And sadly, this would lead Amanda's life back into crisis, because on March 20th, 2023, Amanda was found wandering naked through the streets of Los Angeles during what was described as a psychotic episode. Amanda herself flagged down a passing car and admitted that she was mentally unwell before being placed under another psychiatric hold. And at this point, it became painfully obvious that Amanda's struggles were far deeper than anybody could have ever imagined. This was somebody fighting a very serious mental illness. Amanda went from a gifted child star to somebody struggling with addiction, body image issues, identity problems, paranoia, and depression. And maybe the saddest part of Amanda's story is that you can still occasionally see flashes of the old Amanda underneath everything. And despite what happened, there are still moments where it feels like she's trying to fight her way back. Now, if you guys stay till the end, I really do appreciate it. And if you like this video, there's going to be another video popping up on your screen about Britney Spears and everything that she went through during her conservatorship. And don't forget, the best way to support the channel is to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.